Hi, I'm Alisa, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am here today with...
Hi, I'm Abby. I'm back.
And thank you for joining me.
Of course.
I am an IFS practitioner, and on this channel, I like to marry IFS with the energetic, the metaphysical, and creative expression to help people on their healing journey. Before we get started, please hit that subscribe button below so you don't miss any episodes. On today's video, we're going to talk about self-energy. And we've tried a couple takes of this, so we should be able to be efficient.
So we so quick. Here we go.
Okay. I loved the example you just gave of self-energy, so actually I'm going to let you lead with that example.
Okay. I was just thinking that self-energy is sort of like the friend. I was thinking of like a movie, and like a high school movie, say, and there's like a group of girls that, try really, really hard to be liked by other people.
Right.
And oftentimes they are liked by other people, but they're, they have to try really hard, and people are kind of like,
Stay in a role.
Yeah. And I was then thinking about like, well, there's always like that one person or that one friend who is just kind of like quiet, cool, and calm in the background that people are just really drawn to naturally. They don't really try hard to like make all the friends and be really well liked, but they end up being really, really well liked, and just people are drawn to them. So I was thinking that that's a lot like self-energy, where it's just, people are just naturally drawn to it in others, and it just shows up, and it's more of like a presence, the energy of.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
I love that, because I was thinking in this video we could do a lot of explaining, and we could talk more about our experience with and parts it's easier to like do the explaining. Well, here's a manager, here's polarity, here's burdens, here's a firefighter, here's an exile. But I think it's something that is easier to relate to an experience. Like for me, I there's parts that can be self-like, and we can talk about that in another video. But self-energy, I know for me, is when I just sit in this spaciousness, and I feel like the story is losing its impact because I've told it twice.
No, it's not. It's not.
No, there's a part that's laughing really. It thinks it's really funny. But that, not the story. The story's not funny. Just the story's not funny.
Well, I can understand why that part is there. So
Yeah.
It's all good.
But the this week on Thursday will be the anniversary, like the year anniversary of when my mother died. And my mother and I did not have an easy relationship, and I don't understand my mother's story. Like, I never did. And I wanted for so long to be understood, like to always justify, no, not that person, to prove, like, it's like trying to be exonerated for crimes you never committed. And that went on for so long, and those were the parts. And I had something similar happening over the last few months with another relationship. And then today, after some work I've been doing in my own like journey, it's like my self-energy was finally able to be with my parts enough to be like, wait, when my mom was dying, and over her time in the hospital, which was hard, I still went up and visited her. And that was not an easy thing. And I had people outside like being like, why? She's never been kind. She's not been kind. She's not been a... And I said, because that's who I am. And so it struck me that whether I'm understood, whether I understand, the truth of who I am didn't shift, didn't change. And that self-energy, parts, like you said, like, they're trying to be like, they're trying to change. But my self-energy, me, does not shift. there's a constancy about that.
Like a steadiness.
Yeah. And it's because it's totally self-interested. And there's a secure attachment in that. And like knowing that, it's like nobody can change the truth of who I am now to me. You can have your story about me, and I don't need to change that. And there was like such peace and calm inside that can't be shifted. And that again, self-energy begets self-energy. So that to me was really like what self-energy is about. And then curiosity, it had started with curiosity opening up about, well, what are these parts trying to tell me, instead of like jumping in and needing to figure it out. And they're just being with them. So what about you?
I think a lot of my experiences with self-energy is just more momentary. Like I find moments where I'm like more connected with my parts, and like it's almost like I like that you had mentioned like there's I chimed in with steadiness. I don't remember the word that you used, but there is just like a steadiness in knowing things are going to be crazy. There's no controlling anything out here, but just knowing that whatever circumstance or situation that you find yourself in, that like I've got me, and there's just there's like a strength and like a self-assuredness in that. And knowing, not that it doesn't matter to connect to your point, but even in those in attempting and making those attempts to connect and things like that, regardless of how it turns out, that you're gonna be okay. So there's that security. There's this sense of security and knowing like, okay. And it gives you that courage to go ahead and make deeper connections with other people. And you're drawn to other people with that same energy, which is it almost like once you get into it and you find the people with that similar energy, it's really exciting, because then you find I find myself spending more time with those people and doing more things that I find myself connecting with that energy. And so all of the other parts in my system are almost like, even if I'm not connecting deeply with those parts yet, just this sense of like, oh, this is here. Oh, this has been here the whole time. Oh, it's not going anywhere. There's, even though it might not be, constantly, like on a deep level, like, oh, I feel like I'm connecting with this part. But that's a part. That's not, self wouldn't say that. Self wouldn't do that. But there is self in that part really wanting to do that, to make those connections. But it just really, in general, like my whole system feels really more self-led. Like I have that critical mass. Like I find myself just in circumstances and enjoying experiences where I am in that energy.
Yeah, more presence.
Yeah, the presence of that.
Yeah.
So,
and I get that. I when you were talking, I'm really struck by the fact that like that peace and everything, it's like it increases. So I build it and increase it for me, rather than needing it to be increased by somebody else. Yeah. Which is like a parts thing. And again, this isn't self is better than parts. It's that it's the parts are looking outward, but self is self-interested. So was there anything else you wanted to add there?
I don't think so. I think we covered it.
Yeah.
I like this, talking about our experiences with it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I can definitely put in the 8 C's in the description, and I will, and the 5 P's, but I think that gets a better sense. And I'd love to hear your experiences with self-energy in there. And like we said, if you liked the video, which of course you did,